Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hi everyone. Today we're going to step you through a customer/stakeholder engagement plan. Working with a lot of clients at the beginning of the year, there's a real keen interest to get their plans into place, identify objectives and roll out their strategic plan. And one of the key steps in the strategic planning process is a stakeholder analysis of some kind. Now, what we're going to do today is just share with you a pretty simple yet very effective customer/stakeholder engagement plan. So this is a plan that helps you work out what are the key activities that I am going to roll out in order for me to be successful in my endeavour. So, what is a stakeholder in the first place? Basically, it's anybody who's going to be affected by the work that you do, by the things that you produce. A key stakeholder is somebody that has something to win or lose by you being successful. And a key stakeholder is also somebody who has an interest in your success. So, with that in mind, have a think about, so who are my key stakeholders? Now, we can look at this from an internal and external perspective, which is what we've got the template for. And if we think about who are our external stakeholders, they could be shareholders, it could be government, it could be press, it could be the community, it could be your suppliers. But when we're talking about stakeholders who are internal to your business, they are people like, your boss, senior executives, your team or your co-workers. So just have a think about, and even your family members could be key stakeholders because they have something to win or lose by you being successful. So that being said, the next step really is to list who are those external stakeholders in my business or in my business unit. So who are the external ones, and you list them, and then you identify what their role is. And when we talk about, stakeholders, whether they be internal or external, always make sure that ultimately it is a person. You can say that one of the, your stakeholders is the government, but you don't actually engage with the government, inverted commas. You engage with a person in the government or a person in the press. So identify who the person is because they change all the time. So identify the person. Then next thing you do is identify the role. What is the role that they play in that organisation? The more information you can find out about them, the better. And then you look at, so what is the impact that they have on my business or my project or my endeavour? Is it a high, medium or low impact? You can use whatever scale you want actually. But, if we keep it simplistic, let's say they have a high, medium or low impact. And then you look at, so what type of relationship do I currently have with them? And this is on the template, a description of the type of relationship. You can have relationships where your stakeholder is an advocate. So an advocate is somebody who has a strong relationship with you. They're readily accessible when you do need them, and they advocate for you. They look out for you. So that's an advocate. The next one is somebody who is familiar to you, but has a neutral opinion of you. So they're open to listening to you, but they're not necessarily going to take any action very easily. They're also ones that prefer suggestions to be brought to them. However, they tend to stay removed from the purchasing process or from the real decision-making process until you perhaps push them into an advocate role. The next one is a stakeholder who is either reserved or cautious. So these are the stakeholders who aren't readily available to you, not accessible to you, or to your organisation when you need them. The relationship is a little bit tentative and they're not convinced that you're the best option for them without perhaps another person sort of vouching for you. So these are the ones that you really have to win over. And then you've got blockers. So blockers are the ones that you have a poor relationship with, lack any confidence in you and your team, considered an opponent, and seldom give you access to others in their team. So you think, oh God, why do I want to deal with any of the blockers? Now the thing is, when you go and have a look at the impact that they have, you could have a blocker that has a high impact on the success of your venture, on the success of your team, on rolling out a particular objective. So what you want to be able to do is somehow move blockers into up the scale to reserve, to familiar, to neutral. And basically, that's what the activity part is about. And the first thing I'd suggest you do is just identify who the key external stakeholders are. Probably focus on, 3, no more than 3. Identify the role, the impact. Now, if you have, and these are important stakeholders, so if the impact is high, so let's assume that the impact is going to be high, otherwise they wouldn't really be in the plan. Now, if you've got an advocate, fantastic, because what you're going to do is leverage this information to the hilt as much as you can. However, there is this law of reciprocity that comes into play, and if you are continually taking from your advocate, then the scale starts to tip, not in your favour. So what you want to be able to do is keep the advocate informed, share with them information that is going to be important to their role. Find out and continue to support them in their role. Understand, and you probably do already understand what motivates them. You know what their interests are. You know what their current opinion is of your work. However, don't take it for granted. Their influence in the organisation is going to be very important for you. So you want to continually ask them, how are you doing? And you want to also continually feed them with information that you know is going to support them in being successful. So it's pretty easy to leverage the role of an advocate, and don't take your advocates for granted. Feed them, as much love, attention, and information that makes sense to you and to them. So now let's have a look at somebody who is a blocker, but high impact, but a blocker. So ideally what you want to be able to do is move this person from a blocker to at least, being reserved or neutral about you. And one of the strategies that you can use is to identify, so who else in that organisation do you have some sort of relationship with that you could find out why this person finds you to be, not advantageous to them or to their organisation. Do they think that you or your team doesn't sort of, bring the competence that they want? Is it that they've heard something about you? Just try and find out as much information as you can. And if you don't, then go straight to the blocker. Find out what is the information that they that would support them in their role. Find out what motivates them. Think about ways that you could turn them around so that you can manage this opposition that they have to you in a better way. Find out who else influences their opinions, who are their key stakeholders that you may have a relationship with, and try and find out what it is that they know, that they like, that they're interested in, and propose something. Give them some information. Don't expect anything back, and see if you can work with them. And maybe it's not you. Maybe it's not you to be the one to foster a better relationship with them. Maybe it's somebody in your team. Okay, so let's have a look at the internal stakeholders. The same thing applies. Who are the key people that are important to you and your team's success that are internal to the organisation or to your business unit? And identify perhaps, your top 3, 4 or 5. you'd write down what their role is and the impact that they have. Is it high, medium, or low? So if they have a low impact on you, but they're find out, so why are they an important, that would be interesting, why they would be an important stakeholder to you. Maybe they have some influence over somebody that has a high impact and a high degree of power in the organisation. And then you work through the same process. So what is the type of relationship that we have with them or that I have with them? Could it, are they an advocate? Are they neutral? Are they cautious? Or are they a blocker? And then you work through the process again. So what are some of the activities that we could use in order to, to move somebody who is reserved or cautious about us, up the scale to be either familiar or neutral, or even better still, an advocate. And this is all about relationship building. Are they likely to be positive about things that you propose, given the nature of the work that they do or the areas of interest that they're in? Try and find out as much information as you can. People really do appreciate it when you take an interest in them, and that's what you're doing. You're taking an interest in their success. And so what you want to be able to do is keep them satisfied, keep them informed, and manage people who have a high impact and are pretty neutral to you. Sort of manage them closely in terms of finding out what they're interested in, what they're working on, and give them as much information as you can when you can. So very simple template. However, work with your team in identifying the activities and come back to your stakeholder engagement plan or your template. I would say, once every 6 weeks, just to check in and see how you're tracking on that. Okay, good luck with that and let us know how you go.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the People Leaders Podcast. For show notes and other resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can subscribe for future episodes so you can continue your own leadership journey. And please be sure to share this and other episodes with your friends and colleagues. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts on Air Podcast Network.